It's the end of the day with Ray. Hello, my friends. Well, we've all heard the conversations around ransomware and how threatening it is to small businesses, medium business, corporations of all sizes, even our government agencies all around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, I had an opportunity to attend a stockholders meeting. And this meeting was an eye-opener for me because it was the company called Ransomware Incorporated. I had an opportunity to meet the CEO and founder of Ransomware. And what a story, what a company. In 2015, their revenues were $325 million. In 2021, their revenues are going to exceed $170 billion. And I thought, you know what? What a story to share to my friends on the end of the day with Ray. So without any further ado, I want to introduce everybody to the CEO and founder of Ransomware Incorporated. How are you doing, Mr. Anonymous? I know we're not allowed to use your name, but how are things going for you?
Doing great, Ray. Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk to you and your audience.
Well, I got to admit, when I attended the virtual stockholders meeting this year, and by the way, folks, when you're on the dark web in a virtual conference, make sure you check your lighting because it was hard to see everything, all the slides that you were presenting. But the story was totally unbelievable. I mean, 325 million in 2015 to 170 billion. What do you contribute to that success?
Oh my gosh, Ray. Well, there's so many factors. I mean, obviously, the pandemic and work from home has been a huge boon to our business. Folks leaving their corporate networks and corporate security and rushing home with laptops all over the world to work. That's made this game far easier for us to win. That coupled with just the fact that we have very sophisticated developers and folks on our team that are continually tweaking our processes and getting better and better at what we do.
Well, I was reading somewhere, and I think one of the speakers at the stockholder meeting was mentioning that you guys are doing like 4,000, ransom attacks a day. Is that true? 4,000 a day?
Yeah, and I'd say that's probably a conservative estimate, Ray. A conservative estimate. We're doing, I would guess we're probably close to double that here in early 2021.
Well, I remember.
Attacks, that is.
Well, I remember in 2020 at the shareholders meeting, that one was in person at an undisclosed location. But I remember you begging to the shareholders to help you build that help desk. You needed $20 million to do it. And you were talking to them about the Bitcoin thing. And folks, if you're as old as me, you get a ransom and you got to pay in Bitcoin. It's kind of confusing. What the hell's Bitcoin even mean? You get all confused. So you got the money to help desk. What was that help desk? I mean, how many Bitcoin dollar transfers have you done in the year 2020?
Yeah, so it's pretty amazing, Ray. People think of us probably and have a certain image of what our business looks like, and they probably don't even think of us as a business. But I mean, we're as well run as any Fortune 500 company. We've got our departments that do different things. But to your point, we took a lot of those investment dollars, and frankly, we've been in the Bitcoin game for many, many years. Mm-hmm. So if anybody's looked at Bitcoin recently, you can imagine what our investments in Bitcoin have gone to. And so we've been able to use that cash to build out our own infrastructure. And we built our own help desk, and that help desk is designed to help people like yourself, Ray. Mm-hmm. To hey, I need to interact with these folks. I need to pay a ransom. I need to you do a monetary transaction using cryptocurrency, and I have no idea how to even get a cryptocurrency. You can call our help desk, and we'll literally walk you right through the process.
And you speed up getting the money, which is great. That's always good. It's just amazing, Are we still seeing that emails are the greatest way into these organizations? Or if you found another secret way in?
No question. I mean, there's obviously some things, when you talk about, I have in a few minutes, probably our largest new customer. But, for the most part, email is the low-hanging fruit. At the end of the day, that's where we go against the human firewalls. And the human firewalls are easier to crack than the mechanical firewalls.
Well, it's kind of amazing. And, you brought up your largest customer. What a great deal. I remember in the meeting, they were, I think the people that got into that account got like a $15 million bonus. Folks, we think the bonuses are big in the imaging channel. So, tell us a little bit about the largest customer. Who was that? And I think some of us are probably guessing who that was, but, tell us the story.
Well, of course, that was SolarWinds. And, it was very interesting the way the whole SolarWinds attack played out. Very sophisticated. I'll pat ourselves on the back a little bit, but essentially started in 2019. And we found some credentials really available to anyone out on the web that had a backdoor entry into some SolarWinds systems. And using those credentials that were really available to anybody, you go find them on Reddit or any other public website, well, not any other, but several other public websites. We were able to get into their system And we were able to very quickly figure out how do they deploy updates to their users, because we knew that this type of an attack was going to be far more successful for us than trying to go after each of these large organizations one at a time. If we could get into one place, what we call this logistics chain, if we could get into this logistics chain in one place where we know all these other companies are going to download this software and we can put our payload in that software, we knew we'd be very successful. So that's what we did. We actually, in the fall of 2019, we actually put some test code into the SolarWinds system and just watch. We sat back to watch to see if they would find it, if they would catch it, if they would even have a clue, and they didn't. So then in 2020, we actually put our real code in there, and it's amazing. It was only 160 characters of code. So it's probably the largest return on investment per character of code, possibly in the history of software development. But we were very slick with how we did it. And again, I'm patting ourselves on the back a little bit, but we tested this in-house against all the major brands of sophisticated cybersecurity detection equipment. We tested it against Cisco. We tested it against all these big names to make sure that our software would be undetected on that 0 day. And then we deployed it. And when we deployed it, we were also a couple of other things we did well. And I wouldn't normally give you our secret sauce, but a lot of this has already been uncovered in the stories that officials have put out there. So I'm really not telling you.
Well, we appreciate you being so open with us.
Well, of course. The other thing we did is, a lot of our competitors, they get greedy. So if you think of it like fishing, as soon as you feel a nibble on the hook, if you jerk the hole, well, you're not going to catch the fish. The fish is going to get away. And so we really let that hook set. So once the software was in each of these affected organizations, we let it sit for 2 or 3 weeks. We let it kind of just see if it would be detected.
Wow.
And then once we knew we were undetected, that's when we would use that to get into those specific organizations. And man, did we hit the mother load.
Well, I think the speaker was talking about the fact that this is going to pay you guys for a decade, probably.
I think, who knows if they've even found everything that we've done yet? Who knows if we did it to other companies besides SolarWinds?
I guess you're not going to share whether you did that or not. At the end of the day, with Ray, I think you keep that pretty tight to the chest. But
we'll
give us a hint.
For another shareholders meeting.
So, we've heard about the Cozy Bear, one of your competitors out there. I mean, do you see them as a threat? Do you see the Russian government as a threat? I mean, what do you think is your biggest threat?
Yeah, well, first off, from my perspective, I see Cozy Bear and the Russian government as really one and the same. So I think Cozy Bear is, if they're not officially sanctioned by the Russian government, then they're a nod and a wink from the Russian government. And yeah, we absolutely see them as our biggest threat. These are the guys and girls that are recruiting the same talent we're recruiting. They're going after the same customer base we're going after. They're probably a little less scrupulous than we are, although I think in our world, maybe a myth that we can bust here this morning is, we're very scrupulous. We are men and women of our word, and we have to be.
Sure.
Because if we don't do what we say we're going to do, why would anybody do business with us again? If we don't give you back your files, or if we don't delete your files, depending on the type of transaction we're working on, why would anyone ever trust us and pay us that money again?
So do you have a way to filter out the really bad crooks from the kind of so-so crooks? I mean, you got to be some kind of a crook to go work for you. Obviously, you can't just be some,
Yeah, I guess I don't really think about it that way so much, Ray. But I do think, from our perspective, we want to be seen as honorable thieves, for lack of a better term.
Well, I think it was someone was telling me at the meeting, we had the little breakouts at that virtual stockholders meeting. I was talking to one of your senior executives, and he said his family, his grandfather was in the mob, and back in those days, they literally had to kill people, get blood on their hands. You can cause so much havoc, so much destruction with governments even, and basically you're doing it all in a white-collar format, which is kind of interesting. And obviously your revenues are off the chart at $170 billion. I mean, where do you think this tops out for you? Where will you be in 2025?
We don't share our future financial disclosure. I would just tell you it's going to be huge. I will give you an interesting fact, though, an interesting tidbit. If you kind of look at the trajectory of just our per transaction, if you go back to when we started the company in the mid-teens, largely our customer base were consumers, home users. We were going after, grandma and her computer because that's where we could get in, right? That's where our tools led us. And so our average transaction was in the hundreds of dollars, a couple of $100 here, a couple of $100 there. I mean, it added up, right? I mean, we had thousands and then millions of transactions.
Sure.
But then if you look at 2020, it went off the charts. $133,000 was our average transaction last year.
Wow.
Up from about in the teens the previous year. So $133,000 per transaction. And why is that? Because we're going after commercial customers.
Mm-hmm.
And believe it or not, those commercial customers are easier to get. And another interesting thing, we don't just play in the United States of America. I know Europe is as large as the US, but you've got some folks in Europe. So the EU has been a boon for us over the last year, and you can thank the GDPR for that, because so often when we get in to an organization that's in the EU that's governed by the GDPR, they would rather silently pay us than disclose it and face the GDPR fines. And so we're really excited. We see these new regulations come down, whether it's the California Privacy Act or whether it's the one they're doing in Texas. There's a lot of talk about a national compliance law in the United States. We get very excited about that because we just know that those folks will be far more willing to deal with us.
Well, when you don't have any scruples and you're just looking at how to screw people, you got a great business model. I mean, I can't wait till next year's, virtual meeting. I mean, I was hoping I could go to one of these and you guys would be declaring bankruptcy, but it doesn't look that way. It looks like got a strong future ahead of you because people won't want to practice some common sense disciplines to keep people out of their systems. But, it was interesting having you on the end of the day with Ray. I know that you got to get off the air because you don't want anybody tracing you probably. A lot of people watch the end of the day with Ray. So, I appreciate your time. And right after you, I'm going to talk to someone that's going to tell me some ways to try to avoid people dealing with you. So if you want to stick around and watch that, you're welcome to it. But I appreciate your time, sir.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Ray. You have a great day.
Well, folks, I got to get Milton Bartley on because this is just crazy. Milton, did you hear that interview? Holy smokes.
I heard the whole thing, Ray.
This is
just nuts.
This is insane. I mean, he's got no scruples at all. He believes that what he's doing is a good thing. Talking about how his crooks are better crooks than other crooks. What the hell? I'm like, holy smokes, man. So, Milton, here's the deal, man. What? There's a couple of things. We know that education and awareness, is extremely important. But if you just took that, because you don't have to buy anything for education or awareness. Those are just things you do as a human. How much of this could we stop if we could just get people to be more aware, and where do they get the education to get the awareness?
Yeah, a great question, Ray. And I mean, I can't give you a definitive number, obviously, on what we could stop, but I'll give a little shout out to my good friend Scott Augenbaum, retired FBI agent who's now a speaker, goes around the world and does this type of training. Was a cybersecurity specialist for the FBI and a white collar crimes agent for 25 plus years. Anyway, he tells customers every time, large or small, before you spend one penny on the newest firewall, the newest software, the newest WYSIWYG, spend that time, energy, effort, and dollars to train your people, because your people are the low-hanging fruit. I mean, if you look at this, I think it's 40. No, that's not right. Those are the two numbers, 40 and 39. So what's 80%, let's just call it, of all of these attacks last year that went into this analysis that you and I are using were started by an employee clicking or responding to an email that they shouldn't have. Right? I mean, I'm not being hyperbolic. A week doesn't go by in my business. A week, don't talk to one or more clients or potential clients who somebody wired money that they shouldn't have, or gave away credentials that they shouldn't have, or just whatever that was. And there's no software that's going to stop that. There's no firewall you can put in the closet that's going to stop Jim down the hall in the accounting department from clicking on a link in an email. I mean, there's just not. I mean, you've got to train people to be smart. Now, we can give tools and we can overlay security tools on top of this. We can make their lives easier. But the only way to fully take this out of the hands of the is to literally take away their email. And today, we can't effectively run our businesses without that.
Well, I think education is important. And I know that the first time I saw you do the stockholder meeting thing I think it was for a bankers association. And it's a great format to train people, to get them aware of the problem so that they say, holy crap, I don't want this happening to me. So, I think I think it's one of the steps on the stool of security that people forget about. They don't realize they can monetize education. They don't realize that's a whole business of its own, education around cybersecurity. They're all running around trying to sell the products to solve a problem when the problem could be the human. Milton, it's always great having you on. I just wanted to get a quick, analysis from you from the crazy guy we just had on before, but it's amazing that he's going to grow a business up to $170 billion, and we're all letting him do it.
Yeah, it's absolutely nuts, Ray, when I look at this. And by the way, that SolarWinds, I'm going to do a presentation to the Kentucky Bankers Association, I believe, in the middle of March on a Monday morning. And it's all about unpacking that. I'm going to do about 45 minutes on unpacking exactly how that attack, that breach took place. And there's some egregious negligence on behalf of some parties there, clearly, but there was a level of sophistication in the way that this happened. Probably should send shivers down all of our spines, quite frankly.
Well, I'll be glad when you get that done. Maybe we'll get you on the end of the day with Ray and do that at one of our Ray's cafes or something. It'd be awesome.
It's a pleasure.
All right. Milton, it's always good seeing you because we know this, my friends. Status quo is the killer of all that'll be invented. Don't get stuck in status quo and have a fantastic day.